Okay, so this is the last one, and I'm going to talk about something really controversial, which I know a lot of people will disagree with me on, but hey, here we go. Okay, so of course, it's Zelda. You start by saying, Zelda is one of my favorite franchises ever. In fact, Zelda is probably my #1 favorite franchise ever. I've played every Zelda game. I've collected every Zelda game, complete in box, and I mean every. I have the Tingle Japan exclusive games. I have crossbow training. I have the CDI games.
I just wonder what Ganon's up to.
I love Zelda. Bought it all, played it all. They're great. Except this one. It's not... Okay, let me back up a little. For a while now, it's felt like Zelda was going a little off the rails. It started with Wind Waker, or, Zelda the Boating Simulator, and they did this weird cartoony, cel-shaded graphic style. And it felt very odd in Zelda, because excluding the first 3, because console limitations, you couldn't get more realistic than that, Zelda had a lot of realistic games. Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask were more 3D and darker and more... If you look at them now, they're not realistic, but at the time, that was as realistic as a game could get. And then you had stuff like Twilight Princess, which I believe was actually after Wind Waker, but still, that had a really dark and gritty, realistic 3D feel, and it was great. And Wind Waker is this obnoxious, cartoony, cel-shaded thing. And unfortunately, of all the games to pull direction from, that seems to be the one they're sticking with. Because in this game, and in a lot of the recent ones, and all the 3DS ones, it's always this cartoony, cel-shaded, stupid look. And I don't want that. I wanted a Zelda cartoon. I already have the DVD. I can go watch that.
Ooh.
You were standing on this flower, you brute!
Well, excuse me, princess.
And unfortunately, with this game specifically, they got rid of everything else that made a Zelda game a Zelda game. Yes, you are trying to defeat Ganon to save Zelda. Yes, your name is Link. That's pretty much it. That's all they kept. Don't get me wrong, I love open world games. I do. Skyrim, for example, amazing. Played the heck out of it. Haven't beaten it because I keep getting distracted by side quests, but it's a great game. Horizon Zero Dawn, amazing game. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is, I think, the first Assassin's Creed I've played all the way through, and one of the few PS4 games that I have platinumed. So I love open world games. But not in Zelda. Zelda has a formula that it should have. It's there for a reason. It's what makes the game what it is. We all like it, and they threw everything away. There are no dungeons anymore. There's a couple little trials, which is at most 3-room kind of thing you have to go through and just use one mechanic. But that's not the same. You all know a good water temple, while infuriating, is incredible because you really have to think and problem solve, get through all sorts of puzzles, and it's glorious. Here they don't have any of that. They have fights that are more annoying than they are interesting. A lot of the puzzles and problem solving are out, and 90% of the game is optional. If you really wanted to, you could basically run straight to Ganon, and if you know what you're doing, beat him and finish the game. You don't have to go through the extra stuff, and that was never the case before. While the games weren't always necessarily linear, you could do things out of order, you still had to do all the things. You had to go to the different dungeons and get the different weapons and sub-weapons, and you had to learn these different strategies and tactics to take down the bosses, building your way up to Ganon. Here, it just... I don't know. As big and as massive as the game is, most of it feels tacked on because it's not required. Like, I don't want the game to be 100% linear. I like the idea of open world, but it should still have a linear story and just have the option for lots of sub-quests and sub-areas. But the story itself should still be there. You should still have to progress through dungeons and collect certain items and weapons to beat things. and they kind of took all of that away. Also, because they made such a jump out of nowhere, Hyrule doesn't feel like Hyrule. Like, I know it should, and I know a lot of the stuff you expect to see, like the Gerudos and the Gorons and all these various things, are in the game. But to me, at least, it didn't feel like Hyrule. It doesn't feel like a Zelda game. That's my main issue. I'm not saying the game is bad. As an open world, just adventure game, it's fine. It's fun. I'd even say above average. I still hate the art style, but the game itself is fun. But as a Zelda game, I'd give it a 2 or 3. Like, this is not great for me because it doesn't feel like Zelda. It's like the Mario movie.
Stupid.
As an 80s movie, or 90s movie, whenever it came out, it's decent. It is. It's a fun, funny, entertaining movie. As a Mario movie, it's absolute crap because it misrepresents the franchise. That's this game. And unfortunately, this game isn't the only thing. Because recently, Hyrule Warriors came out back on the Wii U, and it was re-released on the Switch, and it was great. And I was really hoping to see more of it, because I'm a huge fan of Muso games, and I also love Zelda, obviously. And the lore and the characters and the enemies actually fit really well in that game style. If you haven't played Hyrule Warriors, I 1000% recommend it. You absolutely should buy it immediately. And for a while, I've been hoping we would get a sequel. You know, in the second game, you could maybe have a few more stages. You could have even more characters, like 4 Guardians, or some of the characters from the Oracle games. You know, there's more you could throw in there, and that'd be great. We would all love that. Well, between when I wrote the talking points for this rant and when I'm filming this right now, they announced another Hyrule Warriors game. It's the prequel to this stupid game. No, it's not. It's the prequel to the sequel to this game. So it's a Breath of the Wild 1.5, if you will. It only has characters from Breath of the Wild. It's in this terrible cel-shaded graphic style. And because it's just going from this game to the next Breath of the Wild, I'm sure the stage count and story will all be pretty truncated. It looks like you only have a roster of 6, maybe 7 characters to play as. So it just... Hyrule Warriors was really big. There's, I want to say, around 30 characters you can play as, a couple dozen stages to play on. It's really a massive game with the adventure mode and the story that you have to play through twice if you want to get all those Skulltulas and unlock even more stages. It's just, there's a lot in that game. This new one, don't see how it could compete to that scale, let alone surpass it. Because they've limited themselves to just the in-between of this game and the sequel. So I finally got the game I wanted, and it's going to be a major disappointment. Yes, I pre-ordered it. Yes, it will be in my collection. Yes, I will play it to completion. I just don't expect to enjoy it as much as I would if we got a proper Hyrule Warriors. And yeah, I guess that's the end of me complaining about Zelda and Nintendo. Final takeaway, I still like the franchises that Nintendo puts out. I still will probably buy most of the games they produce, at least for a while. But I can't necessarily say I'm a fanboy anymore. And I'm definitely a little disillusioned with the company because it no longer feels like they care. I don't get as excited for a Nintendo announcement anymore because part of me knows whatever it is that comes out is going to be a cash grab. Mario Odyssey was great, yes. And I don't know, I'm sure they had some other good stuff recently, but like all the games I mentioned in this series, they're obviously not good. And then there's been a lot of just Wii U ports to the Switch, which is blatant money grab. I mean, they've usually added 1 or 2 new features, but not enough to charge full price on what we're getting, and they did. It just, I don't know. Nintendo's not great anymore, and that kind of stinks. But yeah, unless they plan on hiring me on, I don't know how that will change, so we're just going to have to roll with it. Also, I'm not going to do any game review videos for a bit, because every October, for as long as I can remember, I've watched a horror movie a night for the whole month. That's just a thing I do. I love horror movies. And this year, I'm going to do video reviews of them and post one of those every night, so that if y'all decided to do my horror marathon with me, I don't know why you would, especially because you don't know what movies I'm watching. Every day you can see what I thought of the movie and compare it to your own thoughts. So yeah, that's a thing. Enjoy those. Or don't, and just come back in November and I'll get back to regular game stuff. Either way, I will see y'all later. Okay, bye.